Alright, so we're here today. We're going to be doing some beef jerky, and it is going to be a piece of beef. It's a piece of the bottom round. Typically, if you bought a whole bottom round, it's going to be a fair amount bigger than this. I actually, earlier this year, split the bottom round because it'll be about this high, so I split it down so that when I end up doing my strips, they're not quite as thick. And we trimmed it up real well, so it's ready, not too much fat in it. And you'll look on here and you'll see the grain on this running this way. So when we end up slicing this, we're going to go against the grain, so it's a little more tender. If I slice everything with the grain, it's going to be a little chewier as you're chewing it up. So what we're going to do here today, we're going to slice it. We have our lemon seasoning packet. We're going to use sweet and sour today. And about 5 pounds. The seasoning is about 2.5 cups of water to a pack of seasoning for 5 pounds. We're going to let that marinate overnight. Tomorrow we'll come back, go ahead, get out of the marinade, and start smoking it and drying it on the pellet grill. So I don't need strips this long, plus it makes it a little tougher to cut them more even. So I'll go in here and follow that grain, and I'm just going to split this. And the grain sort of runs on that angle, so I'm just going to split that. And now it's a lot easier for me to go ahead and make nice slices. You're going to want a very sharp knife. You could use a slicer if you wanted to. Today we're just going to go freehand and slice it. It does help if your meat is just, I don't want to say frozen, but definitely very close to it, that it's nice and stiff. If it's too soft, it's tough to make a nice even slice out of it. This is going to be a real simple way to make a nice low-fat, high-protein jerky. You see the grain pattern running that way, and we're just going to continue to slice these up, get them all sliced up. We'll go ahead and get it stuck in the bowl and get it marinated. So we're just about done slicing here. This piece here I did get a little stiffer. It's almost frozen there, so it's cutting a little harder. The nice thing to do is actually, if you have a fresh piece of meat, is throw it in the freezer for an hour. Let that outside stiffen up good, and the inner will be a little softer. This here we actually got out of the freezer, so it's going the other way a little bit. So now we got it all sliced up here. Beautiful slices. You can make them a little thinner, a little thicker, around 3/16 of an inch. Some people get down to 1/8 of an inch. So it just depends how you like your jerky. I already have the 2.5 cups of water, which this calls for this recipe. In the lemon packet, they're going to have all the mix, and also a packet of curing salt. And if you don't have 5 pounds, you can you just want to mix up a pound. It'll give you directions on the back here of how much of this to mix in. But since we have 5 pounds, we're going to put all the curing salt in and the seasoning and mix that up. Then we're just going to go ahead and put our jerky meat in here. Now we're just going to let it in the stainless steel bowl. You want to use, something non-reactive. You don't want to use aluminum or anything like that. A lot of times at home we'll just end up using a large 1 gallon Ziploc bag, which will hold 5 pounds too, that we'll set in the fridge or put it in a cooler with some ice for a day. It's going to mix this all up inside here. Then we're just going to simply set it in the fridge, let it go about 8-10 hours. I'll go ahead and mix this around a little bit, make sure we get good coverage. Sometimes what will happen is your pieces will stick together. You won't get it on there, so you want to make sure everything is going to be separated and you get a good even mixture of it. With that set in there, simply put this in the fridge and we'll be back tomorrow. We'll go over all the getting it ready, getting the grill ready to get the jerky smoked. Alright, we're back. It's been about 24 hours. Have the meat in the seasoning yet. We got the Bowie by Green Mountain all set up here. Have it set at 155 degrees. That's where we're going to start the jerky. I like to start it low. You don't want to start it and cook it. You want to really dry it is what you're going for. Certainly going to add some wood smoke to it. We have hickory pellets in here. That's what we're going to smoke it with today. A little later we will turn this up to about 180 after a couple hours. Should take about 5 hours to do this. So inside we have it set up with grill mats. What they just make it nice and easy to bring the food out. They're a lot tighter, so I don't have any jerky that sags through any of the grates. We're going to hit it with any release agent, a spray. Today we're just going to hit it with a little bit of duck fat. It'll help it release when it's done. And also help clean up a little bit. So we got our bowl. We did mix it around last evening, so we're going to go ahead and start putting the jerky meat on. When you do put it on, you don't want to have it tight. You want a little space there so air can flow. As it does dry for you, it will shrink up quite a bit, but to get started, you want some space in there. We cut this a little thicker. If you cut it thinner, it's just going to take up a little more space on your grill, so you want to prepare for that, maybe not do quite as much at a time. So that's on the bottom rack. Now we're going to add a little bit more spice to the bottom section. We're going to use our from Dizzy Pig Swamp Venom, give it a little more heat than what it has. And could have mixed it right in with the seasoning, but I didn't want to do it all or have two separate bowls, so we're just going to put a little bit on here right now. We're going to put the next set of racks on. You have to adjust your jerky a little bit. With these extended racks, you pretty much can have two complete full surfaces here to double the space on the grill. Put that in. And there you go. So it's all loaded up. We're just going to let this go, like I said, for a couple hours, and then we'll end up coming back. Turn it up to about 180, and it should take about 5 hours total on here, somewhere in that area, to go ahead and have our jerky done. So we'll be back a little later. Alright, so we're about 3.5 hours into doing the jerky. I did bump us up to 175 here just a little while ago. You can go ahead and check on it here. You'll see the top isn't colored quite as much as the bottom yet. The bottom just a little farther ahead, which is typical. It's just a little hotter down here. So, but usually I look for that starting to break here, which we're not quite there yet. So we're gonna put this on. You'll see a little darker here in the edge. You want to keep it back from where your drip rack is, because this is where a lot of heat comes up on that outside edge. So I saw that a little while ago, moved it back a little bit. So we'll be good now, but probably about another hour, something like that with the bottom. And then we'll end up pulling that and just finishing the top row off here. So we'll be back in a little bit. All right, so we bumped it up to about 180. And the bottom section of this, checked a little bit ago, the bottom part of this is going to be done now. So we're going to go ahead and pull the bottom out and continue to let the top finish up for us. I'm just going to set these on here for now. See, we don't have quite the same color for the top as what we do on the bottom here. them set out. See, they slide right off of your mat. Set them out. Gonna lay our bottom back in to let them finish. Spread them back out. And you can flip them if you want to. We'll just flip a couple of these, but it's not necessary. And we're good to go there. So we'll let that continue. So we got these out. You know, it's looking good. It should just tear apart very easily, which it does. And we're just going to let them cool down a little bit. I'm going to try a piece first. Definitely taste the smoke from the hickory pellets in there. And we're good to go. So we're going to let these spread them out, let them cool down. Back by an hour, somewhere around an hour or so, and the rest of it should be finished up. Alright, so we're back. It's been about an hour or 20 minutes, something like that, since we flipped them around. They get to eat the others. That swamp venom on there, give it a nice little heat. You got the sweetness at first and a little heat on the end. So we're going to go ahead. This here's looking really, really good. We're going to go ahead. It's turned right apart. So we're going to go ahead and take this here off, and we're done. Going to let it cool down, and then put it in some bags, and probably here at Penwood it'll be gone here in a day or two.